All right, folks, welcome to another episode of Life-Undeferred Open Mic. I'm Jared Sebesta. Thanks for joining me here today. We got a special guest I'm really excited to get to. We're going to talk about time management and how if you can really utilize your time, you can open up the doors for growth and expansion in your life, both professionally, but personally as well. So I'm really excited to bring on our special guest here in just a moment. Just a couple of quick announcements. You may have noticed, by the way, we are streaming live on Instagram right now. You probably know the story. I got my identity stolen a couple of weeks ago, several weeks ago now. My Facebook page is still down, so don't try to find me there. But I was able to recover my Instagram page. So very exciting that I'm back on Instagram and able to connect and reconnect with a lot of my old friends and colleagues there. So if we're not connected on Instagram, chances are you're not watching this, but I am back. And the announcement I made earlier this week was legit. This is not a spammer. I am the real thing here. So really excited for that. Got some big plans for 2025. I hope you're excited for this year. Of course, I have the book coming out. I'm doing a total revamp on my website literally as we speak. So look for an announcement on that coming out in the weeks ahead. As I relaunch that, I'm going to have some new goodies on there as well. But some things I'm working on big. I'll just kind of throw some teasers out there. A couple of platforms and communities I'm working on. And so this is just the beginning. And it's just been such a ride for me personally over the last several years, obviously kind of culminating with the book. And by the way, if you haven't had a chance to read my book yet, please go check it out on Amazon, Life-Undeferred, How to Unlock the Dream Life Already Inside. That's really a testimony of my journey in the last 3 years, living in fear and scarcity for 43 of my 46 years, and then finding out that if I could unlock some of the things in my mind the way I think, then the roof can really come off the house, and you start to see this explosive growth, not just financially, but in impact, in fulfillment, in purpose. And that's what I'm really, really excited to dive into in the weeks and years ahead and help as many people as I can do that as well. Well, let's get to our guest today. We're going to talk about time management. I'm thrilled to introduce again, Katie DeWitt. She's our special guest here today. She's a powerhouse in the real estate industry. As the owner of her own real estate business and a successful coach, Katie has mastered the art of scaling real estate businesses while maintaining work-life harmony. Based in Oregon, she's built multiple revenue streams through real estate sales, short-term rentals, and investments. Today, she helps other realtors transform their businesses through strategic time management and system optimization. Katie brings a unique blend of hands-on experience and practical wisdom as both a thriving entrepreneur and mother of two. Please welcome to the stream, Katie DeWitt. Thanks for being here today, Katie.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jared.
It's a lot of fun. I'm excited to reconnect. We connected down at Disneyland several months ago when I was down there at a speaking engagement at a realtor marketing conference. And right off the bat, I could tell like you are a powerhouse in the realtor space, but the business space as well. Let's talk about this idea of time management. When did you realize that you needed to really optimize your time to optimize your growth?
Yeah, so I started my career young, in the sense I was CEO at 26 years old. Before I had kids, before I was dating my husband at the time. And just great question. It just, I didn't do it in the beginning. I was young. I felt like I had something to prove. I did the 80-hour weeks. I was the first one in, last one out. And obviously priorities change as you get married and have children. So for, going through those motions, it took about 6-7 years of just burnout. I'm glad I had those years. That's where I learned quickly on everything through my mentors. I was so blessed to have a lot of millionaires who some had balance and some didn't. So I got to see at a young age, the impression of what to do and what not to do, of balance and things like that. So yeah, I did it wrong at first. And then I learned over the years, and honestly, sadly, kids make you do that. Kids make you physically can't go somewhere. You have to be home for a sick day. And so some of that started with just no balance with work and then being forced to do some of it over the years.
Yeah. It seems like, I'm now 6-7 months into my entrepreneurial journey. And I heard it said one time where it's like, you're not only trying to balance, and again, I don't know if I care for that word balance, because are you ever balanced, so to speak? That's another conversation, but you're really managing your time and your energy. When you're a W-2 employee, you just kind of go to work
Yep.
It balances it for you, air quotes.
Yep.
But when you're an entrepreneur and your schedule is up to you to fill, you're really balancing this continuum of your time and your energy. Is that how you would articulate that?
Oh my God, being an entrepreneur, which is like everyone's favorite word since the last like 10 years with social media and influencers, right? And this next generation, no one is working anymore, right? We all get to be on podcasts and all the fun part. And it's the second stage of how do we find that balance to create, income and a systematic day, which that's where I really want to focus today on just where are we putting our priority on what activities? Have we put $1 per hour activity on that? Are we doing things that are maybe worth paying someone else to do so that we can have more free time to make? And again, I think money has a negative one. I don't think I know, right? Money has like a dirty word to it, a dirty connotation to it. And I love money. I think that money does solve all of your problems. If I can be sitting on a beach and making money and enjoying time with my family, amazing. I think more money makes my life amazing. And that you can argue that or cancel me or whatever. But I've never met someone with a ton of money that's like, I hate life. So I make money so that I can enjoy what I want to do, right? And be time with my family or travel or things like that. So yeah, being an independent contractor and finding the right avenue of where to be, that's very difficult to do.
I thought of Wolf of Wall Street, Leonardo DiCaprio, where I've been broke and I've been rich, and I choose rich every single time. That's
come on.
I know. And so again, let's not go there. But I mean, folks listening at home, watching at home, like what we're trying to say here. Okay, bear with it. So let's get right into it. So where somebody is feeling burnt out, where it's all me all the time, I'm going to do this. Where is that break point where it's like me doing it by myself is no longer serving me? How did you know you were at that point, and what was the first thing that you did?
So, when I look at people, so as a business coach, I'm a consultant, right? I talk with someone, I hear about their entire life, their story, what they're doing. And they always start with their business. And they're like, okay, I'm doing this and I have 50 things going on. And everyone has their natural ceiling of achievement. So when I say that, I love workout analogies. I love to work out. I think it's something that we all pretty much can understand, simple metaphors. So if I just started running out of nowhere and I've never been a runner, right? Like I couldn't naturally, if I just kind of did it here and there, I know what my natural thing is. I naturally can get to about 10 minutes. I'm not a fast runner, 10-minute mile, without training, right? And I can do 1 or 2 miles here and there. And that's my natural ability. There's my husband who's 6'4" athletic god, and he could just wake up without running for 10 years and he'll go run 10 miles. That's his natural ability. So everyone has their natural spot when they wake up of just, let's get up and go do this. And so when I look at people's business and where they naturally are, then we have to kind of scale back and say, well, where can we fix some pockets to get you more advanced? And where do we leverage that out? Because people will come and be like, well, when do I hire someone? When do I need to implement the system? I'm like, there's no right or wrong answer. Are you burnt out? Do you want more time or do you want more money? And I say those two things because that's always the goal, right? It's when you're in business, it's all, how do I make more money or how do I make more time? Or it's both, obviously. But those are the two main pain points. So there's not a right or wrong answer, Jared, of when do we need to implement that? It's more, when you realize, and it's typically at year 3, right? Year 2, you notice it. You're like, hey, I hit the same amount of sales this year. Or year 2 is you know what? I'm still running 3 miles every time, or whatever that looks like in your life or your business. It's usually year 2, you notice it. Year 3 is when you can articulate it. And you're like, you know what? I really want to break through that. It's usually when they come to me for coaching. They're like, 3 years in a row, I've hit X amount of sales, or I've made this much money. So identifying that is key.
That makes a lot of sense, because it seems like the mantra out there is that when you go hyper focus and you dedicate your life to growing a business, being an entrepreneur, it's pretty much 3 years, you're going to be in the trenches. You know what I mean? Year 1, you're losing money. Year 2, you're maybe breaking even. Year 3, now it's starting to grow. And to your point, that's probably about the time that you're going to start hitting those plateaus. I think there's probably a lot of solopreneurs out there. You could consider myself, I don't have any employees at this point. It's just me. Mm-hmm. I've heard this mantra of whatever, your time is money. So anything that you can then delegate, that, you can pay a VA, however much per hour to do that's a tough mental exercise for me, because I am the salesman. I'm the one driving the sales. So, but at the same time too, like, how do I put really an exact amount of money on my time to then justify the VA or the employee?
I love this. So let's scale it back or step back a minute and just look at the whole picture. And I'll give an example of Mandy is someone, and I probably should ask if I can use her name because you can figure out who I'm coaching. So sorry, Mandy. But this is an example. She is
allegedly.
Allegedly. She is an incredible woman. Her natural ability is just higher than most people. She came to me and we started coaching. She's in real estate, her third year, selling 80 units in her third year. For reference, if you're not in this world, the average agent sells 4 homes a year. So for her third year to be selling 80, that's groundbreaking. And so we start talking, and she, again, starts going into her life and business and blah, blah, blah. And we're on Zoom, and she's got this dog barking. And by the way, we're fresh into a business relationship where I'm trying to fix all of her problems, right? Her business. And she's just tense, and she's trying to explain her life to me, and her dog is barking at her like crazy. And she's just like getting up and trying to focus. And I'm an expensive coach. So I'm like, you're kind of wasting 3 minutes to let your dog in. You're out. Now she has to refocus. And I sat there and I go, we're not going to talk about your business today. And she's like, what do you mean? Like, we just got started. What do you mean? I'm like, this moment right here, what's fixed this dog? She talks about, she's like, well, yeah, it's strung up and it's exhausted. And then I'm stressed all day. And then I have to like walk it all the time. And I'm like, what would it cost to get someone to come and walk your dog twice a day? And she's like, I don't know, and she lives in a different part of the country, and she found out, within 24 hours, she asked one of her kids' friends, who's like 17, a neighbor
kid. Yep.
And I think she pays like $50 a month. And so so that took 1 week. She comes back next week. She goes, I found a kid. She comes and walks it. And all of a sudden I watched her, and her whole energy focused in, and she's like, I'm ready now. And here's the thing is that when we talk about fixing things in our life and balance, it might just be a $50 fix so that she can start Monday without the immediate tense, right? Like, that was one little adjustment for such a small price. And by the way, we've been coaching for maybe almost a year now, 8 months. And every time like that, I'll hear the doorbell ring. The woman comes and gets the dog, and she takes it out, and she stays focused with me, which means she's focused on the right activities to grow herself, her business, her life. And that was just one small piece of what we've done. But some people, right, it's just where in your life can you find these minute moments that add up to hours of free time, right? Because if free time, then you get to go back to the two things. Do you now want to, with more time on your plate, do you want to improve your business, or do you want to just enjoy that time off?
Yeah, that's a great perspective. So it's not like you're hiring a VA that's actually directly associated to your business, but really it creates the atmosphere for you to operate your highest game. That reminds me of, I'm a grinder, and I'm like a recovering like workaholic, to where I have no problem grinding. Some people like struggle to find the grind. Other people struggle to find the spiritual mental side. Grinding isn't the answer, but sitting around and singing Kumbaya, 24 hours a day isn't the answer either. And I'm finding a better balance between kind of that masculine and feminine energy. I have found that sometimes for me, it's more beneficial for me to start my day, or to carve out time to reconnect, to get my mind right, to like de-escalate any stress and anxiety that I may have, so I can then show up and be more efficient. And there's that saying out there that says like the effortless effort, where I actually am, don't hear me wrong here, working less, but being so much more efficient, I can get farther faster. What lands with what I just said?
Jared, I am the laziest, most efficient person.
I love that.
That has been my slogan for years. But I used to say I'm really lazy. And I used to brag about that. I'm like, I'm so lazy.
Yeah.
And then I realized, no, I'm just really efficient.
Okay.
So you go back to your 8-hour day. And again, thinking like, where can I save 20 minutes, 30 minutes? Because all of those little things add up. And again, it goes into your personal life. It's, if I could pay someone to mow my lawn, that's 2 hours every weekend, right? To go out and get the gas for my lawnmower, to make sure it works and empty it out and do all those things. So again, I'm paying someone else to do that 2 hours so that I'm rested from the weekend. So I start my Monday off like a clean yard. Everything's good. I didn't spend that time, that money to do that, so that when I am at work, I'm focused to do that. I bought a golf cart because I live about 3 blocks from a really good restaurant. And I'm about 3 to 4 blocks from it. And I measured, there's a little bike path. I literally went out, measured, and moved someone's rock on their little path so that I could get my golf cart through there. And I did the math. I'm like, if I could drive every time to this golf cart, and I have kids too. So kids with car seats, I have to buckle them in. I know this is so stupid, right? But this is a bigger example of like, I measure everything in my life. I'm like, if I go to that restaurant 30 times a year with my family, like walking with the kids, or if I go and meet clients, or if I'm going out with friends, every time I go, I now just get in the golf cart and I can get there in like 2 minutes versus a 15-minute walk. So I know that seems crazy, but for me, it was a write-off. I got to put my logo on the golf cart. I get to meet more people. It's hilarious. And then buckling the kids in, buckling them out, I literally save like 7 hours a year, but it's also right, thinking strategic, like now I can write it off. It's more things like that. So I like a triple win. Like, can it, does it save me time? Does it make me more money? And do I enjoy doing it? So, even my eyelashes, I pay for fake eyelashes. Guess why? That's an efficiency, so that it's 1 hour versus every minute doing mascara for 10 minutes a day. Girls will understand this on your platform. Like, that is people think it's high maintenance. I'm like, no, that's because I'm lazy. So every morning I don't have to spend 10 minutes doing makeup. I just wake up and I look this good, you guys. I just roll out of bed this beautiful. So, but I am so lazy. But I had to change the verbiage on that too. I'm very efficient. And so it makes it so that I have more hours throughout the day to choose to do nothing, which seems lazy, but it's because I said, that's worth the money for me, that when I'm at work, I get to be in the right lane that makes more income. And so my work days are typically about 2 hours long, because the activities I do are in the 20%. And I don't know how familiar you or your crowd are familiar with the 80-20 rule. Are you?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Hey, I'll just explain really quickly. So like 80% of what you're doing is only producing 20% of the results, and vice versa, right?
Yeah. So in business, 80% of your profits typically come from 20% of like your customers or your efforts. So if you have a 8-hour day or a 10-hour day, and you can just take away all those extra hours of just fluff, right? Where we feel important. Like, I made a flyer, I did this. It's like, where was the 2 hours that you actually were like, that's what generated my biggest efforts, incomes, results.
Yeah.
So just do that throughout your entire day, right? Like if you're with your family, it's like, well, okay, this is what the biggest joy is. This goes with happiness, by the way. There's 20% activities that generate 80% of your happiness. Like, this law is wild when you start noticing it, and your reticular activator, which means that when you understand something or you're looking for something, your mind starts focusing in on it. It's called your RAS, or your reticular activator. And so when you start understanding the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, you realize it's everywhere. Like, go into your closet. I bet you only wear 20% of your outfits, right? Like 80% of your closet's just full of junk, because 20% is what you're actually doing the results. You're actually wearing those ones. So every part is just getting more efficient, right? So like, get rid of the other 80% and just watch, like, your life feels lighthearted. I know those are topical issues, but with such a broad platform that you've got entrepreneurs, you've got mothers, you've got everything. It starts small. It's just, what can I cut out, either a system or a person to replace it with?
Well, I would echo what you said. You're not lazy. Like, that's not the right word. It's funny because it brings levity to it. But yeah, you're right. You're very smart and efficient, and there is a difference. This connects so much. I literally just posted something this week, talking about how I lost, as you know, like, I lost Instagram and I lost Facebook, which I lived on those 2 platforms, and then they're gone. And I'm like, holy cow, I got a lot of time on my hands. And I realized that the grind side of me, that itch was scratched because I was spending so much time doing posts, reels, stories, the whole bit. Not to say that those things aren't important, but you know what happened when I didn't have them? I was like, okay, what am I going to do today? And you know what I did, Katie? I picked up the phone and I started calling people. I started like doing direct outreach, saying, hey, you've got this company, like what's some pain points? How could I help? Here, what if we work together there? And guess what happened? January is my biggest month ever. And I'm very proud to say that. I'm not bragging. I'm like, that feels so good as a business owner now, like creating that type of not only impact, but financial gain. And by the way, February will be a close second as of now, which something could happen. It could be number one. But to your point, it showed me that social media isn't bad, but it's the 80%. I was probably spending 80% of my time making sure everybody sees me online. Not that that's bad, but it really wasn't producing the result I was looking for. So I love that. Let me ask you a question. So should people like just hyper go through their schedule and take inventory with that 80-20 lens? How should people kind of start to maybe identify these places where there is waste?
Yeah. There's two fun exercises. One of them is you can document everything. So every 15 minutes, you can do every hour if that seems very overwhelming. So every hour, just what did you do throughout the day? Right? If you first hour, like went and got my coffee. Second hour, I went and, got ready for work and hair, makeup, whatever. Then I driving to work, right? Like there's all these little things that you can go through. And then again, start small, like go through that every hour. And then next to it, put who or what could do that. So if it's, and again, even small thing, like maybe there's a system for that, right? Like in the morning, getting ready, like, can someone else go get my coffee? Can I pre-order? Like I used to go to Starbucks. I mean, I'm a huge Starbucks girl. And I would go because it just felt like I was doing something every morning. It was a habit that I created, and I drive there and I get my $7 coffee and I drive all the way back before I started my day. And honestly, the only reason I stopped is where I realized it's just protein in my coffee so I can bulk up. But that habit was an hour. And it's like, if I could have paid the $12 for a coffee, I know that's insane. That's stupid. Right. But at the moment, that would have been my first idea to cut back. Mm-hmm. So I could have put like, is there a system? Well, there's Uber Eats. Right. So there are, and I didn't need to do that, but there's different things that you can go through your day and say, does it bring me joy to do it? Does it make sense to pay someone else to do that? Mm-hmm. So you can go through as a person or a system. So you just kind of leverage out and just start with one. This is not, I hate January 1st because everyone's like, I'm going to change my whole life. And they implement 50 systems. And as a coach, I've really, really mastered the art of, anytime someone comes to me with a new idea, a new workout plan, a new business plan, it's like, start with one. Again, you're not going to start running 5 miles a day if you want to run a marathon out of nowhere. You're going to start with walking. You're going to start with 1 mile. You're going to start with maybe just buying the shoes. You may not even be that prepped, right? So be practical because you're actually rewiring your brain for success. So if you say, I'm going to do this, and then you fail at all 5, you're going to be right back at ground zero the next week because your brain is literally saying that was painful. I did not like that. But if you say, you know what, I went through all activities in the day and all I'm going to start doing is just not drive to Starbucks today. Or I'm going to not scroll for 10 minutes or whatever, just one little item, your brain will say, wow, actually picking up the phone was better than scrolling. That was fun. And it literally, there's physical science that shows that we're rewiring those little new bridges that when you do that, it says, hey, let's do it again. And you have to do it multiple times for your brain to say, that's positive experience. And that creates the new habit for next time.
That I hope people are listening to this because this is unbelievable. I love this because this is more than just disciplines. This is a rewiring of your brain. And one thing I thought of, I was chuckling when you were talking the Starbucks example. This is how much scarcity and grind I live. Like I would never outsource anything, Katie, never, because like I'll do it myself. I'll do it cheaper. If you want it done right, I'm doing it myself, and I can always do it cheaper. And it's actually an addition process where now you're just piling on more things. You're saying the key to growth is actually the subtraction. Get rid of anything 80%. This is how cheap I was. I wouldn't pay $16 for Amazon Prime. I just saw that was a waste. And you know what did it? I was looking for this like obscure part for my car. I spent my entire lunch hour, this is when I was working, bopping around from store to store to store. Nobody had it. I searched it on Amazon, found it immediately, clicked one button, and it was at my house the next day. And I was like, kaboom, like mind blowing that this was that easy. So like I gladly pay the $16 a month for Prime because it saves me hours and I don't have to sit here and spend my entire lunch hours or every spare minute of my time trying to get these things or groceries, or my wife has the reoccurring stuff where stuff is just kind of showing up every month.
Oh, yeah.
And 3 years ago, I'd be like, hogwash, we're going to go to the store and buy that. And it's just so much more efficient now, especially with 4 kids. So I hear you. But what that does more importantly is it starts to like, it opens up this thing. This is where I want to really go with this. Talk about, this is the key to expansion. The changing of this, if we can rewire this thing, the lids start coming off. Like give maybe people who need to make that growth, considering business, want to take their business to the next level. It all starts right here. And I'm sure you would agree with that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that also coincides with just generosity, because when you start to, and by the way, I would label myself as cheap in a lot of areas. And like, I'm wearing Costco sweatpants below this Zoom thing. Like, I'm a like cheap, frivolous girl, unless it comes to steak. And so when it comes to other people, there's no price tag. And so I do a lot of, instead of systems, I do a lot of people. If I could pay someone to do something, if I can tip better so I get better service in the beginning of a meal, if I can do something that it pours back into someone else, hands down. Because again, that goes into when you can create more time and then more relationships. And Jared, how did we meet, right? Like we ran into each other and at a big event with hundreds of people. And then it was just about, what can we do for each other? Right. Like I was literally filming an Instagram thing with a friend, and it's like, we're talking, and it's just like, well, what can I do to help your business? You're like, what can I do for you? There's no money exchange, but the opportunities and where your brain just goes to when you have more time and to give back, that's going to be full circle for you. It may not show up for a year. It might show up in something else. You will never be able to articulate exactly where it originated, but just give back to people. And so part of that second phase of, that cheapness, right? Because I get it, like $12 for a Starbucks for someone to deliver it, but an extra hour in the morning to go make, maybe for me, like an extra $200-$300 that morning. Like I'll trade $10 for 100 any day. Right. So invest in people, invest in, and just try not to be cheap. That was actually one of my notes, and I wanted to incorporate it to somehow in our talk today, because I had really great mentors that showed me that early on. It's just give back, right? The most successful millionaires give back 10%. That is the number one correlation to wealthy people who have balance and money, is they give back. So where in your life can you do both? Again, win-win-win, right? So what could you cut back on something and maybe just pour into someone else?
That's deep, because again, if you can create the system, eliminate the waste, invest in the new system, like getting a Starbucks for twice the cost, but it opens up for me to be more present. That allows the channel to then open up to other people. That's where the gain is. You know what I'm saying? So I hear you. I love this. We got to do a part 2. Will you come back sometime? Let's do a part 2 sometime. This is great. And I love how you ended that, because that was so heavy on my heart. This, as we wrapped up 2024, was like, for me, again, living in fear, scarcity, and grind. We tend to be a little hoardy. We can kind of, you get something and you want to hold on to it. And I have another reason why I believe that January has been so big is because I have really sat in that uncomfortable and just tried to really, take those uncomfortable steps to like try to put myself in a position to help others. And so this is a continuous conversation, not just that transcends time management, but really people management as well. I love it. So give people a little heads up. Where can people find you before I let you go?
I'm on Instagram. I don't even know my handle. Katie DeWitt, realtor, maybe. Honestly,
I like that.
That's great. And then on Facebook, I'm Katie Tortura DeWitt. I had to throw in my maiden name there because there's a lot of Katie DeWitts. So that'll make it a little bit easier. So if you have questions, again, all aspects of business, I love to support. And just, this is where I get high. I love to help people grow. And again, just like with you, Jared, you've been an amazing influence on my life in the short few weeks I've known you. So just love to give back. So love to hear people's story.
I love it. Well, find Katie on Instagram. You'll find her. I'll tag her when we repost this live stream. It's going to be awesome. Thanks for joining us today. Let's do a part 2 sometime. It's going to be great. All right.
Sounds good. Thank you.
We'll talk to you and see you.
Bye.
All right. Katie, she's a firecracker. I knew she was going to be a great interview. Great stuff. I love how we ended that. That's fantastic. Yes, we're trying to save time, but we're trying to open up ourselves to be more available for other people, adding value. That's what it's all about. Guys, thanks for joining us here today. This is a lot of fun. I love these live streams. We'll bring another one to you next week. And lots of times we come with an agenda and a guest. Sometimes we don't. Regardless, though, we're going to talk about life and how do we get to that next level. I love that. Have a great day. Love you guys. We'll talk soon.